Welcome to day 9 of the summer tour for the Eastern Europe Division 1. We've got two series to close out the second week here of action. Of course, we're going to be kicking off with Virtus.pro taking on One Move. So it's going to be a nice series to be able to kickstart our night. Importantly, Danog, how are we doing today?
Always lovely to hear from you, man. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. It's so crazy that we're already, like, basically 2/3 of the way through the tour. It feels like it's just flown by and... Well, this day is pretty simple, right? Like, we've got two teams that are still left undefeated in BO3 and Team Spirit. Team Spirit, a little bit shaky. For Virtus.pro, the formula is simple. They're the only ones left with their fate in their own hands if they want to be able to make it to the Bali Major. If they win every single one of their future games, then they're going to make it. Because they still have to play 9 Pandas. The 2 series that they've lost has been against BO3 and Spirit. So if they can keep the winning streak going, then there's a small chance for them. But this is just step 1 on that big process.
Yeah, we've said for Virtus.pro, there's a bit of a trend that's been going on for this team with every tour so far. They continue to lose versus the top 3 teams, being Spirit, BO3, Hellraisers, now 9 Pandas. So far, that's continuing on. Again, they've lost against 2 of those, so we'll see against the teams that aren't top 3. They're looking incredible, and well, they're going to be versing one of them today in One Move, and for this team as well, they've already played 5 series. This is about to be their 6th series. They're currently 2 and 3. So, and with how it's all looking at the moment, like, they, even with the 2-3 count, they could be in trouble for potential relegation depending on how everything else goes. You've got Aleikum all the way down at the bottom with 0 victories, but at the moment, One Move, they are not safe at all.
I feel like we're in the potential situation where tiebreakers could be coming out. It always kind of was the case, right? It's pretty much a similar story with, like, a lot of the regions, right? Like, in Western Europe, you've got Tundra, Liquid, and Game and Gladiators at the top, and then this big clump underneath them where, you know, someone could go to the Major and someone could get eliminated just off the back of one series. So it's kind of crazy that it's this close still after all this time, but I guess it's better to get more close Dota. The thing... I still have hope for Virtus.pro to be able to make it through to the Major. Again, it is in their own hands, but we saw yesterday 9 Pandas really didn't have a very good showing up against BO3. You know, game 1, I felt the draft was probably a lot more favored towards BO3, but game 2, they just crumbled in terms of the actual gameplay.
Yeah, that they did. So it's showcasing so far that anyone is able to take a map in Eastern Europe, and on the right day you could get a win or you could get a loss. And for One Move in particular, I mean, they started the tour out, they were 2-0 Danog. They've lost their last 3. I mean, we were saying like this could be maybe a dark horse team with the start they've had running into the later stages. All of a sudden they could be potentially taking maybe that 3rd slot to make it to Bali, but all of a sudden losing your last 3, and now we're speaking about them fighting for potential relegation and just to be around at the mid-pack.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 teams that they've yet to play are Virtus.pro and Spirit, so those aren't exactly easy opponents, right? Going into this, people would rank them, you know, 2nd to 4th, you would probably say, coming into this tour, so... And again, this series very important for One Move as well, just to... If they get one more win, they're safe, in my opinion, but if they keep, you know, 2 and 5, then I would say tiebreakers is almost a certainty.
Yeah, that's a danger zone, and that is not a position they want to be in. Like you said, I mean, Virtus.pro, their faith is in their hands, and honestly, same with kind of One Move as well. You got to get the wins. It's simple as that. Got to get the wins, and we'll see if they're going to be able to do so. That's really the ultimate question. But heading into this series, is there anything you feel like we should be looking out for between Virtus.pro and One Move? Like maybe any heroes you feel like is contested between the two, or play styles?
Not necessarily like specific heroes. I'm just going to be taking a quite close look at Noticed, because I feel like, you know, there's been times where he was on previous rosters where some patches didn't really suit him. You know, like this big full-on aura style. You're basically just an aura bot, you know, try and survive. But it feels to me like the offlaners are having to get a little bit more active this time around, whether that be through going into these scaling cores, like, you know, your Darkseer and your Magnus, that sort of thing, or even just like a full-on aggressive style Batrider, Timbersaw, this sort of stuff. So I want to see how he does, because I've always looked at Noticed and seen him as like an incredibly strong team fighter, and I feel like if you're just reduced to being something that survives with auras around you, it kind of limits what he's able to output. So hopefully for him, this can be the one where he really looks to stamp his mark and say, look, I'm back and this is my patch.
Which, do you feel like that's the case with the patch? Because it still feels like at the moment auras are very strong. Maybe not. Like
They're
it felt
important,
like
but they're not as like completely necessary. You know, there's a reason that we see, you know, the Mag, the Timbersaw, the Batrider, they're still very viable now, whereas in the previous patch, it was like, if you're not someone that builds auras, you're basically throwing the game for your team, you know?
Which is a rough position to be in for these players who want to be those blink initiators and the crazy team fight wombo combo. They want the highlight reels, and unfortunately, you don't really get the highlight reels with all the auras. You know, you might look cool with Pipe, Crimson, Mech, whatever you want, but it doesn't really help out with the reels.
Yeah, he's kind of... I've always looked at Noticed and been like, this guy is a mid laner stuck playing in the off lane, you know? And not necessarily like he's better at mid or anything. It's just the playstyle, you know, what he likes to do. Even when you think the meta prior to like the full-on Auras one, it was all about just like split push, you know? We had Nature's Prophets, we had Lycans, we had Beastmaster with a full push, Visage, like these sorts of things that just stick in lane and push him out, and it's just not his style, you know? He wants to be in and amongst it. He wants that meta of, you know, the Axe, the Centaur. Yeah, they're aura builders, but they get in and they get stuff done.
That they do indeed. So, but like you said, we've seen these teams have been more than happy to try and move away from the auras, and if it's a right game, situational wise, they're happy to go for a different hero in particular with the offlane that doesn't really need the auras. So we'll see if they're going to be able to line up a draft for that to potentially enable Mr. Noticed on the offlane. What about, you know, the one move and their offlaner as well with Afterlife? We spoke a little bit about for Notice. I mean, Afterlife is definitely a staple in the Eastern European region. It's been around for quite some time. What do we make of him, like, if we compare him to Noticed?
So if Noticed is like, you know, a 9.5 out of 10 in terms of team fighting, but, you know, lower down the totem pole in a lot of things, Afterlife is like a solid 8 or an 8.5 in like so many different areas. That's his big strength, right? He's not going to be hindered by like a patch not suiting his playstyle just because he can play anything. You know, he's one of those people that no matter what meta it is, he's going to be able to make it work. So I'm not really that concerned about him. I don't think you can necessarily look to target him in, you know, bans and all that sort of stuff, because he can just make something work. The one that I've really been impressed by is Anchorat with a lot of his individual play, right? He has been carrying games from that mid lane for one move. He's the reason that they got off to that 2-0 start.
Yeah, and it's been that way in his previous teams as well. When he was on Amiga before this team, he was really the standout person for me that was just taking games over left, right, and center. I mean, his pucks, his spirits, all his active playmaking heroes.
Even just Death Prophet, you know? His Death Prophet's great.
And that's the beautiful thing about him. He can also play kind of those more boring-esque, like I'd even put like Dragonite into that mix as well. Like, and that's really what you need out of a mid laner. You can't always be flashy. Sometimes you need to fulfill a different role that the team requires, and I think Anchorat is definitely one of them. There's a lot of very good up-and-coming mid laners right now in the Eastern Europe region, so it's very exciting to see them continuously battle it out. And well, for Anchorat in particular, he's going to be going up against Squad X, so this is also kind of a newbie into the scene. There's not really a whole lot known about him. I mean, really, this is his first big stint on a team.
Yeah, I'm keen to see how he's going to go about it. And, I mean, I feel like the general strategy in terms of banning is just going to be ban away stuff that's flexible. If you like, stuff that you can't necessarily flex, but you know that the enemy team can. So previous patches, it was stuff like the Tusk. This time around, you know, things like Batrider, things like the Magnus, things like... I was about to say Wind Ranger, but it's got a pretty terrible win rate. You know, like 30-something% these days. Doesn't matter really what position it's played into. A lot of more people value it as a core. I just really don't see it, you know? It's one of those things that it feels strong. It feels like... I remember the Slacks video about the Wind Ranger and why he hates it. It feels like if you do everything perfectly, it's going to work out. It's just that you're going up against other pro players. Remaining. They're going to anticipate it. They're not going to let you have the perfect game every single time, you know? 5 seconds remaining.
So with that being said, you're expecting or hoping that one move in VP, they just shy away from the Wind Ranger? Or if they play it, you know, maybe give it to a support?
Yeah, I think a support can work, like, just because... it's capable of farming, right? And you're going into stuff that makes your lockdown a little bit more reliable. Like, again, the Atos as a position 4 seems pretty decent. You know, you can get value out of just holding onto a Blightstone or a Medallion or, you know, things of that nature. So I can see the Wind Ranger working, and if you need to scale, she's got the toolkit to be able to do it. So I think it's viable as a 4, but no more 1 Wind Ranger, please. I think the only times that it's been winning has been when it's like facing teams that are currently sitting like 5th or below on the DPC ladders.
So you feel like even that win rate, even though it's very low, it's a little bit artificial in a way.
It's inflated.
Kind of bumped
it's
up.
inflated.
Yeah, inflated. There you go. Yeah.
The really good teams beat the bad teams just because they want a style on it, right? I know I mentioned before, these are pro players, but you know, there's tiers of pro players, right? Like you can't. I'm just using like an Arteezy example. Like, he dominated on the position 1 Wind Ranger playing on Shopify, who haven't lost a game yet, and they beat Sand King Gomez, I think, is the team that they won, right? So they're a newish team, not quite as much experience as someone that's been playing in the scene from, God, how long has Arteezy been around? 2013, 2014, I think? I just can't remember when MLG Columbus was, where it was his big like intro into the pro scene.
10 seconds remaining.
A long time. A very, very long time. Still waiting for that chip as well. Hopefully it will come. I believe. One day. Do you have a draft underway though? One day. One can hope. Fans can hope, but yeah, we're going to draft underway. One move going to be on the Radiant side, playing with first pick, VP on the Dire side with second pick. No real surprise out of the bans. I guess the one thing is the Bloodseeker. We see over in Western Europe, there's a lot of first phase Bloodseeker ban, especially when they're versing Secret, because it's comfort for Chrysalis. Imagine that would be the case for Kiritich as well. I have to imagine that's just probably one of his better heroes, and maybe even looking to try and protect some of their first phase from one move.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, with the Doom, a lot of the times when you see Eastern Europeans pick this team up, you're like, well, is this a position 3? You know, we've seen players across many regions. Immersion's probably number 1 that does it, where it's like a potential for a position 4 Doom. We see Talon do it with Q occasionally. Even Savage picks it up as a position 1. For one move, though, it's 90% of the time going to be Afterlife's hero. Gilgear doesn't quite have that same level of flexibility, and he just is so good on a lot of other heroes that why would you want to just relegate him to playing like a bit more of a passive hero like the Doom? He's an active position 4, and I love seeing Gilgear play.
Say, I mean, one move got you got your broken heroes. You get the Doom, then you get the Pango to close out the first phase. So they'd have to be pretty happy. Yes, it's into the Beastmaster, so there's a little bit they're going to be able to play with the roll to hold him inside, but yeah, Virtus.pro, they're fine as well. Like, Pugna Beastmaster, it's still a very good opener. I wouldn't say one side are happier than the other.
No, I'd say they're both pretty happy. It's now just about how one move are going to look to adjust with these bans, right? Like, just take out the Storm, the Puck, and the Quap, in my opinion. Just because those are the 3 heroes. I guess the Lesh a little bit as well, but maybe not against the Pango or the Doom. You want to play that sort of hero. So just something that's a little bit more mobile, that's able to get use out of that life, that mana drain. You also do need to consider the Deucer as well. You know, anytime you're playing with a Pug nerf, just Deucer gets enabled so heavily by it just to continue to stay in the team fights if you get off to a decent start. I guess one other thing with the Doom is, like, we talk about percentage stuff in terms of HP and all that sort of thing. I mean, Doom doesn't really get value out of the Infernal Blade if you're playing against a Deucer as well, just because she's got such low HP that it's going to go a bit more into the mana and basically just tickle her. Not that Doom's really level it up too much in the early game, but just something to think of. Look at protect the Pangolier, of course. We were mentioning how important Anchorite was to their chances this game. Ember Spirit, one of the heroes that can really look to hinder that.
10 seconds.
I haven't actually tested the interaction. I would imagine
5 seconds remaining.
Does Tornado, if you use it over the Pango when he's rolling in the shield crash and uses shield crash, does that get rid of the damage reduction? Because like you could use Nullifier onto a rolling Pango that's got it up, and now that the spells go through it, albeit for 50% damage, like does that actually remove it? I'm not quite sure.
I actually don't know as well. I'm not quite sure. At first I thought you were speaking about the Doom Ceiling Hurricane, and then I'm like, oh, okay. You mean, yeah. I'm not. I don't know.
10 seconds remaining.
That's a
That'd
very
actually be
niche
pretty
interaction.
vital. No, I mean, it's pretty important though,
5
right? Like, if you could just
seconds
have someone that's like, you know, the
Virtus.pro's
Oracle, the
turn to
Enchantress, the
ban.
Invoker, that's just able to say, you know, we don't even need a Nullifier to make the Pango so much squishier in a lot of these team fights. I would imagine the answer is no, that you can't remove it, just because it's such a hindrance to Pango, and it just makes him so killable.
10
And
seconds
most of the time, you
remaining.
feel invulnerable if you're just balling into the middle of a team fight, right? But if you could just take that
5
away, even with a
seconds
support,
remaining.
feels pretty huge.
Well, like you said, though, they've done a lot in the second phase to try and protect the Pango over the Disruptor. It's a FNG staple, of course, would have been really nice with the Beastmaster as well, with the vision you can provide. And they do get down the Queen of Pain route, so you were, you said the Quap with the other two mid lane bands, that's going to get let through the pool though, so of course you got your Squad X hero. Imagine for one move though, already going to look to try and address the Queen of Pain with some stuns just to make her game a little bit more
10
difficult.
seconds remaining.
You would imagine so. I mean, most of the time when you're playing against a,
5
when you're
seconds
playing as a
remaining.
Quap, you don't want to play against things like the Puck. Even a Leshrac can be a little bit annoying because you can stay at range and still do a good amount of damage. And when Quap looks to make those early rotations, take advantage of her high burst damage, you lose the tower, either by it being shoved out very quickly by spells, or, you know, in the case of Lesh, the Edict. But I love Quap and Pugna combination, just because, again, you're not the slave to the bottle. You can just have a Pugna, you can play around him consistently, and then just continue fighting over and over again. Just so much early damage is at your disposal if you're just playing around this Quap.
So for one move, I mean, we're going to be looking for their double support. Have to, more than likely, they're not going to pick up their extra core here. So I kind of are hoping for a Crystal Maiden. I feel like you're a really strong laning support to address the Beastmaster, even if it doesn't go into the boards. There's a lot of kill threat.
If Quap
The
jumps in,
Frostbite, yeah, Frostbite's super annoying for any mobile hero, and I think there's a lot of value out of the aura for the Pango and the Doom as well.
Yep, certainly doable. I mean, the downside is if Quap eventually gets the Aghanim Shard, then CM's life becomes a whole lot more challenging. And of course, with the BKB as well, CM does basically nothing to you. So I can see it. It's really just dependent if how they want to go with this card, right? Are they looking to use this Pango for scaling? Are they going to look to go a little bit further into the later game? And it seems like that might be the case. Just really looking to secure the TB's lane with the Undying, make sure Beastmaster has not as great of a time, because obviously you want to be up, spamming those axes into the TB, looking to take him, give him a little bit
10
more of a
seconds
challenge in
remaining.
the lane with his low HP but high armor, but Undying really prevents that. So
5
I don't hate
seconds
this. I
remaining.
think it's going to be a nice little response to it here. I'm still like, where's the Snapfire? I want to know where the Snapfire is in every single one of these games. I know she's a universal hero now as well, so it's like, is it doable? Is it just to be able to have that Tombstone counter? Because right now there's not a lot, right? In a Beast Aura helps a little bit, but
Skywrath
just feels a little bit more challenging. All right, there's the classic answer though, right, with the Skywrath.
Sky Beast as well, something that we are continuing to see a lot. Of course, I mean, Sky in general has always been a popular support over in Eastern Europe, but also with the pairing of the
10 seconds
Beastmaster too,
remaining.
something that they've really been enjoying so far. Well, I mean, we got to see it
5
yesterday as
seconds
well in one of the games we casted, so
Virtus.pro's turn to
let's see what the follow-up is going to be. Of course, Virtus.pro feel like there's a big enough hero pool for Kiritich. Probably why they didn't want to pick his hero just then. So, I mean, Monkey's going to be banned out. I have to imagine there's a couple more options for him, though.
I'm just thinking, like, if I'm
Radiant
one
team
move,
ban.
they need a little bit more reliable control for sure, right? Like
Yeah.
you use the Tombstone, you use the Rolling Thunder, you use the Doom. You want to make sure that the enemy team isn't just like running away from you, basically, in that sort of situation. But I feel like they also would love to have some sort of like
10
extra
seconds
sustain, right?
remaining.
Because a lot of Virtus.pro's damage is kind of burst heavy. You know, the
5
Mystic Flare, the
seconds
Quap jumping
remaining.
in with the Sonic Wave, so you can negate a little bit of that with some of these aura items. So I expect the Doom to go down that route this game. But can they look to pick up like a position 4 potentially that provides a little bit more of that
turn to ban.
safety net, I guess you could say, to be able to, you know, avoid a lot of this? Like, Rubik's still in the pool, Gilgir plays a good Rubik. I think they might be able to get away with playing a Snapfire themselves, just to be able to have a little bit of that reposition away from, you know, a Beastmaster if he roars you into the
10
Mystic Flare
seconds
combination.
remaining.
Another stun doesn't hurt either.
5 seconds remaining.
Just because it's a Gilgear staple as well. What do we think of the Mirana? Is there... Because I'm thinking I'd like also a
I'm not
Solar
sure if there's
Crest
enough
builder.
lockdown, you know?
Was my concern, yeah.
Yeah, so the arrows, he's good, but I don't think he's that good. You know, it's a pro Dota. You're not going to be just landing arrows like your Legolas all throughout the game. Kind of feels like that Shadow Demon is providing, like that ban. It follows the same sort of wavelength that I was talking about though, right? Just making sure that there's nothing to, no pun intended, disrupt the burst damage that they've got coming through. And Shadow Demon's pretty good at that. But, you know, you'd have to say Snapfire might be decent at it as well, right? Solar Crest is an option. You might just go into a 4-star. You've obviously got the cookie to be able to stop that. We've seen Snapfires even from the 4-roll go into the Greaves, just because Doom might be looking to rush the Octarine, use the Arcane Boots for that purpose.
I think they're lacking a lot of AoE damage as well from one move, so I mean the Snapfire would definitely help in that regard too. Doing very single target, same with the Terrorblade. They still get rid of it.
Virtus.pro's
So-
turn to pick.
There's a Rubik.
Azurk.
That's fine to me. You know, you've got lots of great spells to be able to steal. You've got good reposition once you've got the shard. Decent enough in the lane. I wonder if they, like, can they hard dominate this lane? And if so, what with? Like, I'm not sure if a Juggernaut's going to be enough,
You may
but
now
you know,
select
there's another
your
one of those
heroes.
lane dominators in the Chaos Knight, right? Like, Rubik and the Doom have these big periods of time where you're just, like, incredibly weak. The downside to that, of course, is that you're going up against a Terrorblade later on. And as someone that is, like, almost entirely single target, we talk about single target, like, Kiritich won't be able to blow up this TB, so he really is putting a lot of faith into the other members of his team.
And you'd say he's going up against probably one of the biggest counters to the Chaos Knight in the Pangolier as well. This hero makes your game very difficult to play with all of his AoE damage, super easy to clear through the Phantasm, just to disrupt him inside the middle of the fights. It can go back and forth. I mean, if CK is ahead, the blink jump on the Pango can cause some issues for him as well, so it's not like it's just one-sided, but it's at
all
least
about
for
who finds the
Kiritich.
jump, right? Like that's it for me. Like Anchorad is the jump for one move, whereas Virtus.pro, they've got multiple options. They've got the Roar to be able to find people out. You've got Kiritich if he gets into a Blink Dagger, he can jump in along with Squad X. So I think they've got different avenues to be able to take a lot of these fights on VP.
Do you think that gives them a easier way to execute in this game one compared to one move?
It does. I feel like they've got pretty good push as well. I like the Rubik's response, like I was talking about, to be able to avoid a lot of that damage. So I really feel like these drafts can be quite even. I think they are set up so that the CK lane could look to really dominate in the early game, but we know that a Doom is capable of scaling, right? So it's really just going to be on potentially Anchorad to change up his role a little bit. You know, maybe they don't want to take a lot of these fights and they're wanting to wait until the Virtus.pro guys is trying to push into them and then look to counter-initiate off the back of that.
The drop.
Bets on esports, bets on streamers, impressive bonus system. Welcome bonus up to $600, cashback, artifacts, regular promotions, daily giveaways. Try yourself as a bookmaker. Great lines. EGB.com, more than just a bookmaker.
就是合一啊。
Seeming like we don't have... Just seeming like we're in store for a pretty good game here. Like, it doesn't... For at least what we've been able to see, nothing too crazy in regards to like an outdraft, which is exciting. Hopefully we get to start off our day with an even game one here between One Move and Virtus.pro.
Hope so. Like, I think that there hasn't been like a massive outdraft. There are big strengths and weaknesses to both teams, right? Like Virtus.pro have the stronger push. They've got Chaos Knight with a Phantasm. You can take towers pretty quickly. Beastmaster, Pugna, very, very quick at doing it as well. The thing is, though, if Pango gets off the chain and is able to make
30
space for this
seconds
TB
to
and
battle.
Doom, and, you know, eventually the Rubik, again, Gilgear is Grand Master on the hero. Look at all those high medals on the one-move side. They've got the late game sewn up, in my opinion. So Virtus.pro, it's all about the early tempo. It's all about making sure that they can dominate the lane, which is the reason that they picked this Chaos Knight.
就是合一啊。
It's... This could just be a very easy answer. Like you say you feel like Virtus.pro needs to have the tempo early on. Is that just going to be through your cores? Because often like a Beastmaster and the Queen of Pain is how you build tempo. Is there maybe anything else that we feel like could help Virtus.pro be active early on to control the game?
I mean, Skywrath's okay at making rotations, right? Like, if Beastmaster just naturally is going to shove the lane out, maybe if they can get a creep pull off onto the hard camp to keep him back next to the tower, it's going to be a little bit safer for him. But I really don't feel like the Skywrath or Pugna do anything of significant note to be able to play that role that you were talking about until they're level 6. So it's going to be a little bit up until they can get to that point.
So then we'll keep tabs on how the experience is going throughout the lanes. But in regards to this mid one in particular, this is something you were asking for one move to look to ban out. So Squad X gets his Queen of Pain against the Pink Lee, which is going to be a very favorable matchup for the Quap. Is there anything we could see one move do to potentially help Ankrad in this more of a difficult lane?
I mean, you pick Undying to stay in the lane, so I'm really not expecting him to make too many movements. And with the Rubik, I'm not really sure that you're going to have the freedom to be able to move towards this mid, to be able to help him out. You know, it might be a sort of thing where they might just try and get, like, more aggressive once Ankrad's got that bottle picked up for himself. And then, you know, if they could get a kill, Undying dies afterwards, gets his full mana pool reset, TPs to mid, refills the bottle. That's the sort of thing that might get him back on track.
And to bottom lane, a lot of back and forth.
Top.
Yeah, top lane now. Gilgear as well. Stuns out with the blood grenade. They're going to be able to chase down the Rubik. Fairy Fire is popped. It's not going to matter with the Chaos Knight able to lock onto his target. First blood acquired. VP off to a good start in their safe lane.
That's what they needed to happen, right? Like, the Doom, of course, a little tankier than Rubik at this stage, and that is one of the big weaknesses of the Rubik, in my opinion, is the laning stage. Just because you've got such long cooldowns to have to play around, and really, it's exploitable. You know, you can look to, of course, set up for things, like with the telekinesis into a skewer, or when Mars was the meta. Kushi, don't think he'll be able to get any kills here, although Sayush is a Skywrath mage, so not the most armor to be able to play around with. He's going perhaps a little bit too deep, though, under the tower, but you'd have to say that the Beastmaster doesn't really hate this situation, where he's just able to sit back, farm underneath the tower. It might mean that the lane pushes back out towards him, which makes it a little awkward, and they haven't unblocked that hard camp that I was talking about, so it really doesn't feel like the Skywrath mage is going to be enabled to make any sorts of rotations towards this mid lane.
They're super happy, aren't they, bottom for VP? Like, yes, they took a lot of damage, but that meta and Tombstone timing is... that's a big spike for you to get a kill, and they've got long cooldowns, 100 second on meta, 45 on Tombstone, so that's 2-3 waves that VP should be able to get for free down bottom.
Yeah, pretty much, right? And, you know, underneath the tower, you might say, oh, it's going to push back, you know, further into the one move side. They've done a decent job of that, just making sure to, like, pull a single creep, make the lane start to position a little bit further towards the Radiant side. But yeah, like you said, unless they've got those cooldowns to actually be able to convert on a good lane position, they're not really going to be too concerned on VP. Gotta say, though, talking up Brad before this game, and he's doing a great job in that mid lane so far.
Dominating, honestly, 19-3 compared to the 14-2. He's able to go around and pick up the bounty rune as well, so got a free refill. And looks like that attempt will pay off once again. And now Afterlife's going to take a little bit of damage. They've got the stun up in 4 seconds if they want to continue. Looks like FNG will... he wants farm. He's got a couple creeps there to go back to, so Kuritic will not continue the chase. Afterlife is going to be okay, though. Self-activated, and he's got the ring health as well, so Doom's still going to be chilling.
It's exactly what they needed to happen, though, right? I mean, of course, the downside is Doom still has 14 last hits, so he's getting his farm. It's just a matter of course, what Kuritic is able to do once he's able to use this solid lane to convert into some of this tower push, because you're not a Terrorblade. You don't farm quite as quickly as the TP does. A lot of the farming that you do is off the back of, like, hero kills that you're able to get early on, or some towers because of the Phantasm playing around the Beastmaster.
Yeah, this hero, like, lives or dies, doesn't he, off the back of his lane? Like, you are a lane dominator. If that does not pay off, you don't get kills, then you're not someone like a Terrorblade, or just for an example, I mean, even Medusa as well, if you want to add another example, you don't farm fast. You got to get these kills.
That's why, like, when everyone saw Hector get you know, insane amounts of net worth without getting like the hugest amount of kills on his CK. They were like, how the hell is this man doing this?
Yeah, he's an outlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude is just... Yeah, I didn't get it. Those players, they just farm at such a ridiculous level. Hector in particular, I mean, that was... it still is one thing that he is known for. I mean, that really is his big trait. It's gone on bottom lane. Notice once again.
Be able to maybe walk away? Never mind. Alright, just enough.
Seemed like the creeps body blocked him a little bit. There was a stutter step there, so one move was able to get the kill. I don't know if they're going to consider about Sayush as well. Meta's still got half duration left. They're shoving the lane as well. Panto's in a position that could help out with a dive, but he's also in a position where he might even die as well, especially with the Beastmaster TPing in, and Sayush going to make sure that Notice gets the kill as well.
Dire are scanning.
Nice little bit of a turnaround there. Again, it's an Undying, right? So he doesn't even mind having the... actually going for a bit of a dive onto squad. Maybe looking to secure that power rune for himself. Let's see whose side is on for luck. And Ankrad just knows little rebound spots to be able to play around with. Guess is wrong, though, with where the Skywrath Mage was walking. Uh-oh. Ooh, nighttime? Is it going to save him?
Spooky.
the haste.
We got a glimpse. Top lane as well. Kiritich. Gonna try and stand his ground. Man fight. They've even got the rotation out of Squad X as well. But the Decrep protects Kiritich. Gilgit. Fadebolt said, don't show yourself. And it doesn't matter. Stun flies out. Nice rotation from Squad X being able to help out their safe lane, who once again were able to find a couple of kills.
Nicely done. I mean, again, that's the sort of movements that you need to be making. You need to dominate this early part. Nicely done by both of these supports here as well. Building up stacks, being right on the mark, right at the 7-minute mark, but FNG might just be lifted up by Gilgar, unfortunately. Not able to secure that one. Will he die for it, though? Doesn't seem like it. It's the sort of thing that you need to do, though. Again, like, they are all on the early games. So I mentioned that the Skywrath and Pugna really needing to heavily play around that level 6. Well, if they got both, then that would have been enabled so much. Pugna, one of those heroes that doesn't need much to do a lot. You know, you want that maxed out Nether Blast, you want a couple of points in the Nether Ward, maybe one in the Decrep, Life Drain, and Tranquil Boost. That's basically all you need on this hero for the first, like, 15 or so minutes of the game. And if he has that, then you can really start to put some map pressure on, reduce the areas that this Greedy, Doom, and TB are looking to be farming around.
So you feel like for him, it's okay for him to leave Kiritich now? Like he's done his role in the lane, he can just help out everyone else? I
still feel like you would like to be level 6, and, well, he might be dying for this movement here, although he gets bumped onto the low ground. Nice positioning. Ooh, the zombies.
Get rid of the zombies! No, Squad X!
Greedy mid laners, man. What can we say? Just wants that rune. They're laughing about it, you know, the voice lines are coming out. I think with that increased radius as well, they can see the observable ward because of that sentry in the mid lane.
Yep.
It's too big, the sentry range, in my opinion. I know I'm a 5, but make it a little more charging, you know?
But do you like that, though? Because it seems like they're trying to make amends for the 10 count down to 8 for sentries, or would you just prefer it to go back up to 10 and reduce the range and be at what it was?
I think it, like, I guess it just enables you to have to find more, like, clever observer ward spots, so that I don't mind, but I don't know, it just feels like 2 sentry wards to cover the entire mid lane is a little bit, it's a little bit cheap, you know? I think you need to have a bit of a better sense of where the enemy team might have.
Ankrad? Nice swashbuckle down to the low ground. He's even just going to TP out. Ankrad, nothing to fear. This roaming trio from Virtus.pro have 0 stuns, and even dipped FNG. Okay, Pugna didn't do too much, but just going to let him know that he's able to one-up them. I mean, they're still looking for some revenge. A little bit angry from that previous attempt, and just TP XD.
Just TP. Very simple. Again, like, that is an area that, honestly, both of these drafts don't have an excess of. They don't have a ton of stuns, right? You got the Telekinesis, you've got the Rolling Thunder, and you've got a bit of an attempt up onto the Doom on this top lane, but very healthy one charges and plenty of survivability with the Vanguard. So pushes him out of the lane, which is always going to be good for the CK. You can already see he's built up such a big net worth lead, 2.3k just at the 10-minute mark.
Aincrad? Turn, he's got some boys to play with him. He's going to be ready with a telekinesis as well. This is perfect use of the Rolling Thunder from Aincrad. Man, if you keep making plays like this, I don't know. We've already sung your praises enough, but you keep going to work like that. I mean, we're going to be praising you as the night goes on.
And again, remember, it was like just the style that they did. They didn't make an aggressive play. That was a counter initiation when the Quap tried to do something. Granted, it was something as simple as just getting a power rune, but I really don't feel like they're going to go on many like aggressive smokes until there's Doom and TB are really online. It's just going to be assume what VP is going to do and try and respond to it.
Step out of your father's shadow.
Another kill.
The world awaits.
What's the levels
So I
looking
guess-
like? Level 6 on the Pugner, so he is now enabled to potentially play a little bit more, I want to say around the Beastmaster, just to be able to play with him, constantly give him the mana to be able to use the axes, and then pray that the Quap is able to get a power rune to be able to make a rotation through, because they need to open up this map a little bit, right? They haven't taken any tier 1 towers just yet. You really want to be doing this when you're playing as a Pugner and a Beastmaster, although the Beast just the 1 point in the Inner Beast, and he is going for the Drums of Slob, so just wanting something else that's going to be going up against these TB illusions. Just, again, that maybe providing more sustain in the team fights as well is something that they want, that sustained damage, so that they're not all in on the burst. Good ward, though.
Dire are scanning.
Well done. Very well done.
Do you think it's well
Notice
done, or do you think it's he just one of those couple of dragons?
No, it seemed like he scouted it out because he axed the wave and then started to back off and drag the Bandit creep under the tower. Seemed like he was
we'll give him
aware.
the benefit of the doubt.
That also then drags one move away from the power rune and it's going to spawn up top. So Squadex is able to pick up the regen. Very close to the recipe as well for that Witchblade. But with the game stalling out, I mean, still it's a huge net worth lead if we look at top compared to the CK or over the Doom. But, you know, this is a hero that if you leave him alone for a little bit of time, he will catch up. You know, Afterlife is only level 7 and still doesn't have the Midas just yet. But we know what this hero can do when he's left by himself.
Yeah, so I wonder if it is even, you know, I was mentioning maybe a move to bot for the Beastmaster, but maybe they make a play around the top side instead. I gotta say though, the regen, when you're playing with a Pugner, it's not like the most ideal rune to be able to play around with, right? It doesn't give you anything new that your draft doesn't already have, so FNG, I guess he doesn't have the Tranquils picked up yet. I really want to see him buy that, just so that you've always got that that HP pool to be able to play around with, plus the additional movement speed, of course, that it provides to make some of these early rotations, because again, a passive game does support one move. Like, if nothing's happening for the next 10 minutes, they're going to be over the moon.
But we gotta say that's not gonna be the case though, right? Like, notice this is Scepter now completed, getting delivered on the courier. You've got, I think, Kiritich, is this Echo Saber completed? Yeah, Echo Saber completed as well. So they're ready to go on Virtus.pro. Like, all 3 cores just hit some very big item timings. You'd have to say that they're not going to have a slow pace gain.
You would hope not. But we've seen teams in the past, you know, they're like, oh, they've got everything, and then they just go back to farming. It's like, but why? You had the tools, you had the keys to the castle, but you didn't do it as, well, we just have a look at EGB odds, and they are favoring VP right now to be able to make that aggressive movement, but again, it's just going to be how one move looked to respond to it. One of the other things that I'm really mindful of is, like, the TP status on a lot of these heroes. We just saw Anchorhead just got a TP delivered to him, but it's still 40 or so seconds until he's actually able to use it, so you know, won't be able to respond to any, like, quick movements to either of the lanes. Even just the supports, just having that TP and having the mana pool to be able to fight around is very important as well. I think that's something that's underestimated. Supports just knowing that you're going up against an aggressive draft and not burning all of their mana, like, in a lane, because then it makes you useless to be able to respond, you know. I'm guilty of it myself. I know there's plenty of times where I'm like, well, I could TP, but then I'd have no mana left to do anything, which, of course, feels very awkward. 12-2 unnoticed, so gives you plenty of those Drums of Slump charges when you land that Primal Roar. I think it gives you 15 instantly out of the maximum 20.
The previous stat that popped up on the screen, but 5 stacks was the most out of everyone in the game. As Sayush's run into Panto, be able to get the leap away. So bottom tower is going to go for free, but yeah, I mean, notice he made the most stacks and probably he's even got more now from what the previous stat was for price. So big reason why he's got the high levels and also that high gold is all second in net worth.
Hopefully someone on one move picks up that Wisdom Rune as well on their side of the map. No one's claimed it just yet, but again, like, TP is such a valuable resource. They want to be in a position to respond to any sort of aggression. I mean, Afterlife feels fairly survivable and wants to stay in the lane, wants to be picking up this farm. He's even got an Observer Ward protecting him around that ancient camp so that he feels a little bit more safe from ganks coming from the mid lane.
Look at you
But, yeah, you really want to see him getting into at least the one point in the Doom relatively soon, right? You want to be able to respond to what VP are about to throw at you. And it seems like they're starting to group up to maybe make that sort of move.
Yeah,
Holding hands though, aren't they? Panto, Gilgear, and Anchorad. Keeping those lanes shoved away, not giving any like quick, free, easy pickoffs. We know that they've got the capability to do it with a Skywrath Mage and a Beastmaster.
I really wonder what they're waiting for on VP for this mid tower. Maybe they wanted to potentially take a fight with that power rune and with a potential pickoff lead it into the objective, but maybe they'll just go top instead. They've got the catapult wave.
And a Pugna.
And a Pugna.
Well, this is it though. They finally made a move, and so one move, make their one move to be able to respond to it. I like the Observer Ward though, just giving complete vision at the entry points to where they're looking to make their aggressive play. So, despite the fact that they had that smoke happening, they don't actually get anything out of it. And so VP are going to be able to probably just pretty securely take this tower. I mean, FNG is the one putting himself on the front lines for now, slowly ticking away at it. Might give up his life, but again, like it's just a position 5 that you're making this play around. And is he? No, he can't do that. Surely not.
So what are getting across the map now with him going down? Notice continuing to free farm down bottom. Squad X going to be able to shove this mid lane as well. So still the cause of being able to find their farm, but and you said before you feel like this slow pace game is going to favor one move, and this net worth lead, it's slowly being cut down. I mean, it wasn't too high of a stage for VP. I think maybe the most was 2k, but still one move that they're slowly chipping into it.
Yeah, I mean, and like greed is good, pretty much. And finally with that Pugna going down, and he revealed on the lane just yet, maybe just the TP to mid to refill the Quap's bottle, and with that they know that the Pugna isn't going to be able to make a response to them, and they finally make their first aggressive move, looking to take the tower, open up the map a little bit, maybe try and catch out the CK now with a few future movements. As soon as they pop the glyph, they know that, of course, they've got the potential to be able to fight into them, but it'll still be enough for Afterlife to be able to get that last hit on the tower, and he's well and truly starting to scale. You know, still 6 on net worth, but he's a dude.
Sayush.
He's going to catch up.
Okay, with the instant response out of the telekinesis, Silence going to be there, but it's a little bit too late as Ankrad got the Rolling Thunder off to be able to protect himself. It's just one kill to start, but it will put an end to Virtus.pro and their aggressive attempt to invade into One Move's jungle. So, in the end, they got that top tower. They weren't able to find the trade mid lane. So, again, it has to be said, last couple of minutes, definitely favoring One Move. We haven't spoken about Munkushi a lot, and he has taken over that top net worth.
Yep, we basically haven't seen him at all. Like, his roaming has been very good, his positioning. Again, he's a Terrorblade playing on the Radiant side, so he's got that additional mana regen coming from the bottom camps around the Wishing Well to be able to play with, so that he's always able to just spam out his spells. I'm not sure if you're going to die up here on the Doom. Well, actually, maybe with the Phantasms, they might be able to get him. Oh,
Very close.
Gossamer Cape, saving him.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Ruben Tweet's going to be lovely for him as well. So, another little thing as well for Afterlife. Meanwhile, bottom lane, what's going on here? Gilgear and Ankrad, maybe trying to force out some response out of Virtus.pro. No real...
Seal?
Oh, okay. Maybe with that. We'll see.
I almost thought like the CK might try and make a bit of a move around the mid lane as soon as that Rolling Thunder was popped, right? Because you would actually get use out of the Phantasm at that point in time. Instead, Curative feels like he really just wants to get into that BKB, and that's what they've been waiting for, to be able to make a move happen. But, I mean, Again, you can have a BKB, but that's not going to protect your illusions from being just removed from these fights by Anchorage. He's got a BKB himself, so really just wanting to never be the one that gets caught out. He knows how vital he is towards any sort of aggressive engagement, and he is just basically playing the pure Space Maker role. This is not a Pango that's amazing at scaling. That's good, though.
It's very good. That's maybe the opening they need now. They've been kind of...
No Rolling Thunder.
Now Squad X, he can jump over the top. Ankrad, defensive use of the BKB, but he's still going to be in some trouble with a Sonic Wave. Lay it down. He's able to secure the kill. It does get stolen. Going to back around onto Kiritich. Munkushi with the meta on cooldown. They're going to have some difficulties with dealing with the CK, but they have been able to deal with the Tombstone. It's starting once Notice enters the fight. He's got plenty of AoE damage to be able to help out. It's going to be a 3-for-1 in the end. Virtus.pro should be able to get the tower as well with the catapult wave. And they will do so. So finally, a nice fight's going to go the way of Dire.
It relied on a little bit of a mistake coming through, right? Just that quick pick off with the Mystic Flare. Doom not quite in the right position to be able to respond to it. He could have just easily sat up on the top side, right? And just used his TP when he wanted to connect towards the rest of the team. But with the lack of the Rolling Thunder, there really isn't too much that one move can do against all of that. They get another tower for themselves, they open up the map, and they can probably look to make a bit of a more of an aggressive move as well. You've got the BKB finished up from Noticed as well, so he can really just look to put himself in the center of a lot of these team fights. This is what I'm talking about, right? This is where the man thrives. He's top net worth on his team, ahead of the your own position one. You're even giving a Pugner and Agadim Shard to be able to deal with those TB illusions as well, so FNG and Virtus.pro have really been enabled just off the back of a single team fight.
Well, what do we feel like is the next on the to-do list, though, for VP, with the kind of lead they just acquired off that fight?
To me, I feel like TB still really wants to be playing on this bottom side of the map. You know, if we could see a heat map of his movements, it basically would be like 90% down there with a one little bit towards that TP towards the mid lane. So if you could just look to take out the bottom tower, looks like they might be considering Roche, but a good Observer Ward inside of the Radiant Jungler is going to scout this one out a little bit. Not sure if they feel like they can respond to it yet, or if they just want to, again, use this time to be able to pick up a little bit more net worth for themselves, because they've got decent sustained damage, right? As long as the Doom isn't used onto the target with the Aegis, you should be able to take a fight fairly reliably on one move.
Are they really that concerned with the Aegis going to VP's hands, though? Like, they were able to trade the T1 mid, they shoved this lane out, top's gonna get shoved out. And, like, VP don't have the greatest catch as well. Not on until the blink is picked up, which, I mean, CK is pretty close to it, but TB can just look to split. You've got the Pango that can do so. There's decent abilities for the Rubik to be able to steal to help with this wave clear as well. So, are there concerns with the Aegis going over for free?
I'd be more concerned if someone had TP'd up towards the top side, but they didn't. They just walked away from the Roche pit. They knew it was going on because of the vision that they had, and so they're going to be able to respond to, like, a full-on push.
Well, they will be able to catch out the Doom. Pipe's going to be activated, but it's not going to be enough to help protect himself. Gilgit at least be able to shove out the way before they catch up to the Rubik, so you will lose some members trying to make this play to avoid the Aegis, but at least it's only one person.
Gotta say, they are doing a great
Look, yeah, look at this play. They're going to smoke up and go bottom because they saw Notice under the Observer Ward. So, aware. So they're not going to be able to catch up to him.
He's the one really preventing the Pangolier from having the impact that he wants in some of these fights, right? You either need to wait for the Rolling Thunder to be available or just play around the Beastmaster. And now that he's got the BKB for himself, he's not going to be vulnerable to dying. Have a look at his neutral item choice as well. Beastmaster went into the Vampire Fang, so some of that spell lifesteal is going to be really effective if he's just able to pop the BKB and be in the center of things with those drums of slop. Just, you know, like bongos.
Another shard. This time it's going to be Sayush that gets it. It's either him or the Queen of Pain.
The spell is, but you know, I feel like you had a quick look. You were anticipating that it was coming.
It's alright. It's burned into my brain now, making sure I'm always on the ball. One move. Let's see what they can do. Smoke up. into the Aegis on Virtus.pro. That's going to be a wraparound from them. Munkushi is not under the cover of the smoke.
Beastmaster's nowhere close to them as well. Like, he is farming completely isolated
Scan
away from the
connected.
rest of the team.
They're going to be able to disengage. Very nice scan. Whoever used that, they're both out. F&G should escape with the TP as well. And like you said, that was a really good opportunity for one move with the Beastmaster not there with the team, but the scan just clipped them for a split second. They're going to be able to react in time and dodge the attempt from one move.
Yeah, Anchored even walks under the Watcher, so they get 100% confirmation that they were making that pathway up towards top. And off the back of that, I mean, in the past minute or so, the net worth lead for Virtus.pro has gone from 2k up to 5. Yeah, 4-5. It's gone back and forth, but you know, any time that you can actually be increasing the lead against this Doom and the TB is going to be a big plus for you. And look at Sayush, he's even looking to try and scale himself, going into that Scythe of Ice, really wanting to take away a lot of that potential for the Pango to be in on the front lines. Might be one of those situations where, you know, towards the end of the Rolling Thunder, he actually pops the Scythe onto him and then hopes that he doesn't recognize it and doesn't use the BKB before it expires and they can actually burst him down. Good use of this Aegis, though, you have to say, right? Minute 30 left on it. Tier 3 tower taken away. Terrorblade really can't farm on this bottom side of the map anymore because of all the vision that they've placed down. They might even be considering going up onto this high ground. I mean, it feels like they're in a pretty strong state right now. Level 19 on the Beastmaster. He's got the Crimson Guard as well. Pugda to help with the siege. Feels pretty solid.
The one thing, if they go now, I was going to say the cop isn't there. There was a couple TPs starting to go back, but it's only 2 members.
Squap have the with the Rolling Thunder, but Anchored again needs to be careful with how deep he's going into this. They were assuming that they might be able to get a quick kill onto the Rubik if he went too far forward, but again, no Rolling Thunder now gives Anchored time to be able to, Squad time to move down towards the bottom side of the map. They can just keep the push going.
Now, Afterlife did just complete a blink, though, so this might catch VP off guard with the Doom being able to instantly get on top of them and utilize his ultimate. He's got to be cautious, though, because he might run underneath the Hawk. But yeah, exactly right. Who are we dooming? And, well, now they're going to see him, so they're well aware that this blink is now completed. And they can play accordingly.
I think you have to doom the Beastmaster, right? Just don't let those drums of Slump Stack start to really tick up. Make it be reliant on right-clicking as opposed to any sort of spell usage. It's not like it's going to enable the Pangolier, but even just the TB, right? Who doesn't have a BKB yet, sure, but is still wanting to be right-clicking in a lot of these team fights. So if you're able to get that Blink Doom onto the Beastmaster, that's pretty heavily enabled.
Yep. So we'll see, though.
The importance of the Nullifier previously. Well, Anchored, he's picked up his Aghanim Scepter, so his team fight is ramped up, certainly. But, I mean, is it CK Nullifier coming through next? Because we know that that is one of the counters to that shield crash, so that you don't even need the Beastmaster Roar to be able to burst him down. Look at FNG, just ratting out that bottom side as well. Simple partner, he knows that he actually doesn't have buyback, so it's a bit of a risky move, but might force some defensive movements away. They know that the Aegis just expired 45 seconds ago, so one move finally feel like they're in a position to make something happen off the back of that freshly completed Ags, but they just can't. Lanes aren't in the greatest spot. FNG pushing in effectively. Still doesn't have the buyback, but I think he's happy enough to give up his life if people are forced all the way back to base to deal with it. The little man just running away.
He's made so much space. Oh my god, dude. He's made so much space. One move had been as 5 for 2 minutes, maybe even a little bit longer. And this lead's continuing to grow. Now Virtus.pro, with them getting confirmation of them positioning down bottom, they're going to be able to split up and push out onto the map and maybe set up a formation where they can catch one move off guard. They are running under a ward, though, so they do see Squad X something to veer his attention over to the northern side.
Sky just bought the gem, though, so he can really look to just roam across the map, take away all of the vision that one move have to play with. Of course, they've got the advantage off the back of just playing with a Beastmaster with the Hawk as well, so it's now coming down to... Like, this kind of feels like a bit of a flowchart sort of game from VP, right? Wait for them to make a mistake on one move, punish it, use our superior push to be able to abuse that. And they took the Aegis in a nice timing to be able to take away the Terrorblade's farm, and now it's just about, again, limiting how he can look to continue to catch up.
Hey, there's him and Kushi underneath this observer wall, but he does have the boys to back him up. They're gonna get the jump. Nice Manta to be able to disrupt, but it's not gonna matter with the combos out. Munkushi, he'll get blown up to start the fight. One move, can they still take it without the carry? Kiritic's gonna be able to assassinate the Undying. They'll turn to Gilgear as well. Vision wins games in Virtus.pro. Got perfect use out of the ward to be able to blow out Munkushi. Now they can walk it down bottom.
And they don't even need to go back again. Pugna, just doing Pugna things, keeping the Queen of Pain very healthy. The Queen Brave is a little bit behind them, but no one's really in a position to be able to cut the wave with the defensive movements having to come out from the Doom and the Pugna. But this should be a single lane of racks, absolutely guaranteed. Hit the range.
Where my creeps at? There we go.
There they are.
Structures are fortified.
Oh, they might be looking to try and mount a defense here.
Barracks are under attack.
Still not wanting to give this up. Again, they know they're in a position to be able to come back if it does get super late. It's still only an 8k lead, 30 minutes in. We've seen far worse predicaments recovered from. But, you know, just having an area of the map that you're constantly needing to address, both from super creeps plus FNG playing his rat style, makes it a lot more challenging. Medium Roche respawn time, basically right on the half mark, so only 45 seconds away from now. That's where Virtus.pro are looking to keep themselves set up. They've got the vision advantage off playing on the bottom side. I'm not sure if they saw that TB illusion just come out of nowhere. If they did, that would obviously give them a lot of information about this movement. They've got the high ground advantage as well. Kiritic in a position to be able to break the smoke. He's got the blink as well.
The ball got popped. Let's see with the observer. Nothing's getting revealed just yet. Someone needs to kill the boy. You want that ward up. Oh no, that's so awkward. Lose your vision. Now what's the play going to be for one move? Maybe send some of the illusions in to do their best to scout out.
See if
Wraparound's going to be there. Sayush in a great position. Notice going to be able to jump in as well. Down goes Ankrad. Instant response to the buyback. They're going to still look to take the fight. Sonic Wave gets stolen too from Gilgear. They're going to get the jump in, but great reactions out of the BKB. The Doom's still going to be there, but over to the northern side. Kiritic tries to find the opening. Jumping Munkushi, but Terrorblade's going to be able to turn. Stands his ground, beating onto the Chaos side. Kiritic tries to TP out. Will be able to escape with the Virtus.pro lineup. They're in shambles now. They won't be able to have the same fate as Notice caught out by the Lotus Pool, and finally one move will catch a break. It does come at the cost of Ankrad's buyback, but something goes their way.
I mean, you see how important Ankrad was to the team fight, right? As soon as he's back in there, of course they were playing right next to... Oh, they found him.
They know he TP'd in. Oh no!
Dire's bottom tower
Well,
Actually, what
they'll
happened?
take the
Sorry.
freebie. I'm not sure. I thought he TP'd back to base.
Yeah, sorry, when I said they know he TP'd in, I messed up. I meant the Pango. I don't know what happened with his TP. So, I wasn't watching, but alright, that's an extra something something.
Yep. And they've got that that nullifier that I was talking about as well on the Terrorblade. So not exactly the most common hero to be picking it up, just because relatively short cast range. But you know, if you're able to get right on top of that Pugna, people can blow up in a lot of these team fights. You know, Pugna feels to me like the most important hero on VP's lineup right now, just to be able to A, provide that decrep, but B, remove some of those TB illusions. Of course, Beastmaster, you would have to say, provides a lot of that importance as well, but we just see they had the tools to kill the Pango once in burst fashion, but as soon as they don't have that Roar, they don't have the Mystic Flare, their potential for teamfight just goes completely away. FNG has to be careful.
He knows no fear. Aggressive jump in. They're going to be able to chase down Panto. Meanwhile, there was a Roar down to the south as well. Let's notice going to be able to catch up to Afterlife. Looks like one move just going to make the call to try and disengage. Any stunners. Kiritic is there, so they'll get the double kill. And also Tormentor will still stay standing, so they're going to Gnag Shard as well.
Pretty big deal that they actually retain that one. Obviously, you love the Beastmaster Aghanim Shard. I like it too.
Yes.
But the more important thing for me is Rubik doesn't have his yet. You know, he was wanting to go into a 4-staff, but I mean, just to be able to have this, to get that reposition away from the CK that's just whacking into you, even just for the multi-man stun, you know, if you lift someone in position and just drop them right down, that's going to stop CK for a little bit. But of course, much more important to be able to move away from that that Skywrath Mage combination. So we'll see if Gilgir is lucky enough on this attempt. If he doesn't die first, Gilgir, okay.
I don't know how realistic this is, but there could even be the tombstone save in the middle of the fight.
Yep,
because I'm pretty sure you can suck a teammate in. I don't think they have to do it. I think you can even do it yourself as well. So,
you get an active ability to do it.
Yeah, I didn't know if... Okay, so... Well, like, I'm just not realistic that is for, like, a quick save on a raw Mystic Flare. I'm not... Because your tombstone...
If people are getting picked off, you're probably not close to a tombstone, is my thinking around that. Whereas Rubik, you've got cast range off the Arcane Supremacy. You might be looking to play around if he holds on to the Blink, for example. Just Gilgir instantly getting into these team fights. You can use the 4-star just to reposition yourself, and then the Telekinesis to reposition the other person. So I just feel like it's so much more flexible.
Yeah, without a doubt, you definitely prefer the Rubiks. I'm just trying to be like a silver lining. Like, maybe even with this Ag Shard, there could be some save, but we'll see if that's really going to come into play. With that last fight down bottom, though, we saw Kiritich, the one that didn't go to VP's way. He put a lot of his attention over to the Terrorblade. And I feel like that was probably a big reason why they weren't able to come out on top, because he just was trying to target down Munkushi. And we've spoken about, like, this Terrorblade versus CK. You've got a crapload of armor. TB's just going to be able to shrug off all the CK's damage, especially, he doesn't even have a BKB on Munkushi. Nothing to fear from him. So what do we need to see out of Kiritich in the fights? Like, where does the priority need to be on who he's looking to jump?
I would say, honestly, the Rubik. I'd say Gilgir's made a few pretty good saves. He is going to get that Aghanim Shard eventually, so obviously you want that to be taken away from the enemy lineup. But, I mean, even if Kiritich is able to hit the TB, it's fine if he's doing it, but it needs to be with the rest of the team, right? Like we saw when he died previously around that ward to the south side of the bottom tier 2, it was because they got the Roar. It's because they got the Mystic Flare and the Quap spells off first. It wasn't the CK doing it. You might still need his help to be able to take out the TB before he can get off the Sunder and everything, but just in a pure one-on-one man fight, absolutely not. We are getting the even game that we were wanting, though, weren't we? Yes. VP, they need to be this level ahead if they're wanting any chance to be able to contest into one move once the late game comes around.
Noticed?
That's ballsy.
Yeah, that's a scary blink. At least he got the BKB off. They're going to try and charge him down, though. Doom even applied as well, so they'll be able to catch up to him deep next to the tier 2 tower, and there's going to be nothing that Virtus.pro can do.
No buyback.
That was a crazy blink. I don't know what he saw. I didn't have Dai's perspective up, but not the position you'd hope to blink in.
No, you need the rest of your team, like, right there behind you, and, you know, this is a Skywrath Mage. He doesn't have that same level of mobility as you do at this stage with how crazily farm noticed is. Yeah. Maybe just feeling the pressure of not wanting to get late. You know, it's one of those situations where they felt like they didn't have decent vision at the time, actually, but there were enough people around that they could look to take a fight. But again, this is one move playing with an Aegis on their Pangolier, so maybe you probably could expect that you're not going to have this Pango just moving separately away from the team, you know, especially as it's just about to expire. They probably wanted to get, like, an objective out of it. The death on the Beastmaster at least means they don't lose mid tier 2, I guess, but at this stage of the game, that really isn't all that significant.
Look, we've spoken a lot about the scaling on one move, and us feeling like they probably have a bit better of a lineup to be able to go later on, but do we have to think differently about it? Because if we take a look at the net worth, like, both multiple cores are behind on one move with the Doom and the Pango. So could that be some issues? Because you really like this Queen of Pain now with the Scepter being able to scale. He got a Spell Prism as well and almost Lincoln, so
man, yeah.
Squad X could be a big issue as this game goes on.
Yeah, he's going to be spamming those Shadow Strikes in the team fights, just because when you reapply it, it explodes. So, you know, with the Spell Prism, just having that much lower cooldown on it as well is going to be very impactful. Does the Quap have a Lincolns at this point?
It's 90 gold away from the recipe.
Well, that's the recipe
Yes.
for success for Virtus.pro, right? Just being able to go in and know that you're not getting doomed. How far away is Doom from Ags? Is he even considering it? Because I feel like that's the only way that you're going to be able to address this.
Shiva's queued up, 2k gold in the bank.
I don't know if that's the way to go about things. Like, yeah, the minus attack speed is good, but to me, the Quap is now where you're going to be popping off.
Yeah. I guess I feel like they have a lot of CK issues. Hopefully that's where the Pango is going to be able to address it though, so maybe there's going to be some communication, be like, don't worry brother, I can deal with it, you go something else to address the Queen of Pain. But see, once again, another smoke Danog whip, it's not going to pay off. I mean, definitely with the whole map change, we see smokes a little bit more difficult to be able to find this connection, but so far this game, there's been a lot of swing and misses.
Yeah, a lot of that is based on how people are shoving in lanes, right? I feel like Ankarad's doing a pretty good job on the Pango just to consistently do it, playing around the rest of his team, of course, not going off solo, especially now that he doesn't have the Aegis, and he would still have that increased death timer from the dieback if he did die. It feels like so long ago, about 10 or so minutes, that's been the case, but I'm just struggling to think like what the next move is for both teams, right? Because they've made a few whiffs, but they've also been right on point with... Are they about to hit into each other, though? Maybe just using Ankrad as bait now that he's got the Lincolns?
Squad X. Ooh, alright. Comes away. They might be able to catch up to Kiritich, though. He's got a pretty good cliff forward, so should be able to react accordingly. Doesn't get the blink off fast enough. It's going to be able to turn with the Phantasm. BKB wants to try and bring down Afterlife. They don't have the damages for the Doom at the moment. A defensive Sonic Wave to help with the reposition, but Munkushi is going to continue to commit on forward. They've gotten rid of CK. Now Ankrad once more as well. An aggressive roll up to the high ground. It's Afterlife flying to Doom. The BKB is going to be able to come out. So it'll do a decent job to protect the Queen of Pain, but with the Skadi slow, it will not matter. VP back inside the base, so they're going to turn for the easy kill onto F and G instead, but even that will not be successful. It's now one move. How are you going to be able to disengage? Ankrad looking to put his body on the line to help them get out of danger, but Squad X is still in fighting shape. A jump over the top to blow up Munkushi, now turns to Afterlife as well, and they might even be able to get Pantomime. They need a stun, and they won't be able to find it. I mean, Skillgear is going to be able to escape as well, but like you said, they were incredibly deep. No respect for Virtus.pro, and in the end, it's going to pay very dearly with two cores going down.
That's such a huge deal, man. Like, the CK didn't have buyback, and they used everything just to try and get him out to safety. They used the Roar, they used the Quap ulti, they used Skywrath Mage ulti as well, so there was absolutely nothing stopping them from just standing there and taking that first tier 3 tower of the game. Since then, the lanes have been pushed away, so once again, they're in a decent spot for Virtus.pro off the back of this, and one move they're just going to need to spend the next couple of minutes fixing that so they can make another one of those moves. Such a heavy commitment to try and save the CK, and still able to take advantage of that. Once again, playing underneath an Observer Ward though, so having to be very careful with where exactly they're placed. I'm sure the one move guys are going to be looking onto the map, see who else is playing away from this bottom area where only the Quap and the Skywrath have shown so far. But Squad X, he is really starting to scale. Level 24. Of course, with the Aghanim Scepter, so much damage output potential coming from him.
Sayush? Dude, what's going on? Pants was a blink? Okay.
Maybe... Okay, so... It's the Tombstone save, I really feel, right? Like, if they get that raw combination off, drop the Tombstone, suck him in.
Radiant are
Let's see.
scanning.
Good position from F&G. The high ground ward as well. Instant use of the Rolling Thunder from Ankrad. No messing around. He's going to crash into the middle, but Virtus.pro, a beautiful disengage. They're going to be able to reposition back to their side of the map. Afterlife, though, finds an angle. Doom's going to be onto the Beastmaster. They want to try and kill off Notice. They should be able to chase him down. They don't have the stun, so they're going to turn. They see Kiritich, though, left on an island. CK needs some assist since Kiritich, he's going to go down. It's got Squad X nearby to be able to pump in the damage, though, but it's not going to matter. Tombstone suck in. Afterlife, he's okay. Gets the blink away as well, and now one move. They can retreat accordingly. Underneath the Hawk, though, so Notice finds the opening for the Raw. Do they still want to commit forward? The meta, a quarter duration left from Munkushi. He's got the Sunder at the ready. Squad X down to a quarter health, but he's going to be okay. FNG with the medic, keeping him alive.
Doing so much
Squad
damage.
X, he's still in fighting shape. A deeper dive towards the pit. They have nothing to deal with the Queen of Pain. Squad X could just do it by himself. A triple kill for the mid laner. Multiple buybacks from every single team. They know how important this Roche fight is.
And they know that there's not going to be a Pugner for it as well. You see, as soon as FNG dies that second time, Squad X is like, man, I've been dominating this fight, but I got to get the hell out of here. At least look to reset, wait for a few of those ultis to come back, but they're back for both teams. Rolling Thunder's up. They're going to go top in anticipation for this, and I suppose FNG, with him being dead, they don't have the damage, although...
Two people are through the rift now. Two people are through the rift. They're not going to be here. It doesn't matter. And now Panther is going to get chased down as well. They wanted to sit up by the time that Roche went through the portal, but once again, the Hawk from Notice gave them the information. Believe that's a dieback out of Panto. Pango down for 100 seconds. They can finally look to walk it down and get the barracks they've been desiring for such a long time.
Yeah, and Munkushi, he was waiting up top that whole time. Roche is going to walk on through the portal now, but defense of your tier 3 tower so much more important. Mid lane even pushed into that tier 2 as well, so we'll be able to secure multiple lanes off the back of this, one would assume. You really need the Pugner if you've got this numbers advantage, if you're fighting with that, without the Pango really being a factor, right? You don't want to buy back, of course, but he pretty much is going to be forced to. Even taking the outpost in the Radiant jungle as well, so FNG just a little bit faster to be able to join back with the team.
Oh, they're going to be able to mount a defense. Afterlife, he'll try. Once again, the Doom's going to be used onto the Beastmaster. A lot of priority to take him out of the equation, and VP, they don't even think twice. They're going to look to disengage, recognizing there is no way they can protect Notice, so a buyback used from Aincrad meta along with the Doom, and well, VP, they feel strong. If one move don't get the Aegis straight away, then it should be theirs for free.
Yeah, and they made the executive decision just straight up towards Roshan. This is number 3 of the game, so it's going to have that Refresher Shard. Going to be amazing to be able to combine together with the Beastmaster especially.
A Refresher just got picked up on Munkushi, so this might catch them off guard. They're expecting there to be no meta.
What's the positioning going to be like, though? Who can even afford to go in onto the front lines? Right now, TB just looking to scout if anyone's inside the pit. No one there just yet. Look at that juicy Lotus as well. Gilgear looking to stock up before this fight. Be very careful. I mean, the longer that you choose to make a decision, that bottom lane is going to push in. That mid lane is going to push in as well. Can they find that perfect jump on the Pango?
They've always got the vision. Multiple Hawks to be able to give them information. Squad X an aggressive jump, and Aincrad's going to be too slow to get there. Rolling Thunder still will be able to follow up, but there's going to be no extra control as Squad X can reposition accordingly. And now they're all in a choke point.
They pop
try and reset the positioning.
There's no BKB on the Queen of Pain. That's a really big deal, right? She's going to be in a position to potentially get caught out, to get stunned. No Rolling Thunder doesn't feel the greatest either.
Whoa. Mukushi used another meta again, so they're just going to wait. Oh, they have to commit now in one move.
They're waiting. VP, they're just like...
They're going to try and jump Afterlife. It's a blind blink up to the high gun. Another Doom onto Noticed. Mukushi's not going to be nearby to be able to get the damage. Maybe that's where Aincrad's able to come into play for the force stuff. Keith's Noticed alive, and now Kiritich deep inside the middle he goes to try and shove them away. Again, the meta's soon to expire. Once it's gone, they're going to be lacking the damage. Afterlife, no buyback for him to be able to help out. It looks like this Roche will go the way of Virtus.pro. And with all this going on with the creeps, they're starting to beat inside the base as well, but it's not going to matter because the heroes, they're in trouble. Panto, a beautiful use of the Tombstone. It's going to be able to keep the Terrorblade alive for the moment. Aincrad trying to do whatever he can with the Rolling Thunder, but it doesn't matter. They just blow up Munkushi. No response at all from one move. It's going to be way too much damage for them to handle. 4 end up getting killed off. A buyback's going to be there, but that's probably all she wrote. 3 down without being able to rejoin this game. Virtus.pro, what a call in these fights. So disciplined from them.
Yeah, respecting the cooldowns, right? They're all throughout this game that they've just been not wanting to fight into this Rolling Thunder at all. Been so effective at kiting it out. You know, getting away from the Doom with their 4-stars, with their Glimmer Capes as well. Just forcing them to commit that little bit too deep, and we know that they've got the great lineup for that individual pickoff. Kushi still an agonizing 35 seconds away from that next meta. They're not looking to give him the chance to be able to go for this fight. Squad might need to just put himself on the front lines. You've got plenty of damage coming through from the rest of the boys.
That's it. GG. What are they going to be able to do? Munkushi will make one attempt. One last ditch one of that. But what a way to celebrate for Squad X. May as well dive inside the base and get another kill. And one move, they're going to be forced to tap out of this game. Virtus.pro. Damn, what a performance from them. Very, very impressive.
Disciplined, I think, is what that was.
Yes.
You know, if you had to ask me, it's probably the calling of FNG, right? Like, he is the experienced head on that lineup. He's the one that's going to be saying, you know, just play around high ground, play around vision. We've got the Beastmaster, we've got the advantage. We're always going to be able to make the jump happen on our terms. That's why they were able to get out that meta. That's why they were able to force out the Doom, the Rolling Thunder. And as soon as those are gone, this really strong scaling late game lineup that One Move had, it's just nowhere near as effective.
I think looking at the second game, you can't give notice as Beastmaster. That's a hero you brought up for his hero pool heading into this series as a whole. I think he just far outperformed what they needed on him. Just the lane he did incredibly well with all the farm that he was able to get as well. I mean, it was top net worth for a decent chunk of this game. And really, for me, a lot of the roars inside the fights and just the vision he was able to provide the whole team as well. They did a really good job with all that information. And in the end, we really saw the power of the Queen of Pain. This is something that you've been really praising and wanting to see more often. And with their scaling potential, Squad X just hard carried some of these late game fights.
What was the damage at the very end of the game for the Quap? Did you have a look? Because I feel like it'd be pretty enormous. You know, just I'm gonna guess 70k might be a bit high, but screw it. I'm gonna say 70k.
61k. Second highest was Munkushi with 35k. So
Quap does a lot in these fights.
Yeah.
Almost
crazy.
double second place. Like, and it's enabled by the Pugna as well. I really love this combination, especially if your enemy has already picked their mid laner, or you could just ban it out. It's I don't want to say it's free, but with someone that's as individually skilled as Squad is, it just sets you up for such a good spot.
Yeah, that it does indeed. And we kind of saw the difficulty for One Move with being able to take fights on their own accord. I mean, we just mentioned about the vision, but also the lack of stuns was a really big issue. I mean, Doom needs stuns, Terrorblade needs stuns, and really the only one for them was the Pango be able to start. I mean, Gilgi had to play very defensively, and just as a whole, we saw the difficulty when things were activated. I mean, in particular, when the meta was used, when the Doom was used, they would just retreat on Virtus.pro, and there was just nothing One Move was able to do. So I think potentially heading into that game too, we might see the Beastmaster addressed, and we might see a little bit more control picked up for the boys on One Move. But VP, they strike first in our first series of the night. Let's see if they're going to be able to continue with the momentum after the break.